Hi, I'm the Bastard Argie, and this is my brand new review show, Stick to Your Day Job, where I'll be looking at the acting careers and acting prowess of several of Hollywood's greatest and lamest actors and actresses. To start off the show, I will be reviewing the career of one of Hollywood's greatest A-list actresses, Anne Hathaway. To do this, I have selected a very specific format that would allow me to perform a very thorough, albeit subjective analysis. I will select Anne Hathaway's first movie, where she had a leading or supporting role, her latest movie, her worst movie, and her best movie. Reviewing all these four performances, I will make a thorough analysis of Anne Hathaway's acting skills when she started out, right now, when she's at her worst, and when she's at her best, to try and get an overall picture of how she is as a performer. This format will be repeated in all subsequent episodes as well for very different actors and actresses. Let's start things off then. What movie have I selected as Anne Hathaway's first movie for this episode? Appropriately enough, Anne Hathaway's first movie, The Prince's Diaries.
First, a little backstory. The Prince's Diaries is a 2001 live-action Disney film directed by the king of all girly mealy-mouthed schlock himself, Gary Marshall. Very much like all his other movies, particularly his two most recent ones, The Awful Valentine's Day and The Atrociously Awful New Year's Eve, this movie is girly wish fulfillment schlock. In it, Anne Hathaway plays Mia Thermopolis, an average, nerdy San Francisco girl living an average, nerdy San Francisco life.
Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Sorry, wrong movie. No, here everything changes when she discovers that she's the heiress to the throne of Genovia, a wonderfully charming European country with a monarchy so popular you'd think it's still the 16th century. But whatever. The mediocrity of this movie, the fact that these Genovians sound suspiciously British, and Gary Marshall's complete misuse of Julie Andrews is of little concern to us. No. What we have to focus on is Anne Hathaway's performance. And in this, she is... alright. Yeah, she's alright. Granted, she does engage in her fair share of overacting, especially when she's supposed to be surprised by something.
I am Queen of Genovia.
Whoa, whoa.
And you are Princess.
Shut up!
Look at that. It looks like she's surprised and more like she's disgusted by whatever is off screen to the left of her. I bet it was the script to The Prince's Diaries 2, which I also watched. What am I doing with my life? However, this is Hathaway's first feature film, so she can be forgiven for getting a bit hammy at times. And to be fair, she doesn't do too bad a job in this movie. She does the best with what she's given, and she does make the character believable and sympathetic, despite the fact that the movie portrays her as somewhat ridiculously naive, which with another actress could have been greatly obnoxious, but with Hathaway, it's not just realistic, it's kind of funny at times. Besides, this is a live-action Disney movie. Compared to the overacting of the average Disney actress, Hathaway acts like Meryl fucking Streep.
All in all, this performance is not too bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. So I'm going to give Hathaway 5 out of 10 stars. Passable. Now, as for her latest movie, as of the making of this video, it's 2012's Tom Hooper adaptation of the musical Les Miserables.
Les Miserables, as the title implies, is the story of a bunch of shitty French people and their really shitty French lives in a really shitty French country called Norway. I mean France. The sheer amount of characters, plot points, and story arcs in this thing is too goddamn long to elaborate on, so I'll just stick with Hathaway's character of Fantine. Fantine starts out the story as a factory girl employed by Hugh Jackman's character of Valjean, but she gets fired early on by the jealous, sexually harassing foreman when he discovers that she has a child, and if she's not an inexperienced virgin, then he's not interested. Of course, this injustice is allowed to stand because 19th century France sucks. That's kind of a recurring theme in the story. Out of work and out of money, she's forced to turn to prostitution in order to support her child, and she eventually dies from the incurable, non-specific cough of death. As you can already tell, this is quite a different role from Hathaway's usual one of relatable, average rom-com leading lady. Fear not, however, as Hathaway is absolutely brilliant in this role. I mean it. Every minute she's on screen, you can see the burden in her eyes. The absolute desperation of a woman who's going through hell itself, but refuses to give up because she will not let her child starve. This isn't a role that requires generating sympathy from the audience, because the viewer is almost automatically going to feel sorry for this poor woman. But the role does require pathos and passion, because you can't just feel sorry for this woman, you have to feel all the pain that she's going through. And Hathaway makes you feel the pain. You can clearly see her stomach every single indignity committed upon her and try to remain strong until it all comes bursting out during the performance of I Dreamed a Dream.
I had a dream my life would be so different from this hell I'm living, so different, no, from what it seems.
In one of the better uses of the close-up in this movie, you really feel intimate with Hathaway's character. A real closeness between her and you. You've seen every last horrible thing that's happened to her through the movie, and when you see her release all that pain, anger, and regret while she sings this song, it's almost like you're releasing all those emotions too. It's pretty moving, and that's why this role is so efficient and so good.
This was definitely one of Hathaway's absolute best performances. I'm giving her an almost perfect 9 out of 10 stars. Hathaway really shines through here. And now it's time to move on from one of her best performances to her absolute worst performance. Selecting a worst movie for an actor is a bit of a daunting task. Do you choose the worst movie that they were in overall? Or do you perhaps choose a movie that might not be so bad, but that they were the worst in?
However, I had no difficulty choosing Anne Hathaway's worst movie, because it's both the movie where she acts the worst and the worst movie she's ever been in.
It's fucking Bride Wars.
A brief summary of this awful movie. It's a 2009 rom-com directed by Gary Winnick, the asshole who made 13 going on 30. Anne Hathaway and Kate Hudson are the world's bestest best buds for revsies. They're so friendly that the audience has to be constantly reminded that they're best friends. These two best friends have a sick obsession with getting married on June at the Plaza Hotel, because when they were little girls, they saw a random couple getting married there. That's it. And when I say they have a sick obsession, I mean a really Norman Bates sick obsession. During the movie, when both their wedding dates get booked on the same date for contrived reasons, they attempt to emotionally and professionally destroy each other in an attempt to get the other to give up the date. Best friends! What's worse about this role is that Hathaway doesn't seem to be sure of how she wants to play it. She tries to be her usual funny, clumsy, average random rom-com leading lady in one scene, but then she tries to be a snarky, mean bitch in the next. Towards the end, you don't know if she's a nice girl who is struggling to be mean, or a mean bitch who pretends to be nice, or if she has multiple personality disorder. She could! Hathaway switches the character's personality so many times during this thing, she might as well have it! Christ!
Your wedding better watch it.
What did you just say?
I said your wedding should be very scared right now. If I were your wedding, I'd sleep with one eye open.
Why don't you just save your threats for Daniel? After all, isn't that how you got a proposal out of him?
That's how I do. Your wedding can suck it.
What did you just say? My wedding can suck,
Yeah,
Your
Emma.
wedding can I mean, yours can be, terrible.
Please.
Hey, Liv.
Yes.
Your wedding will be huge. Just like your ass at prom.
Truly a performance for the ages. I'm giving Hathaway 3 out of 10 stars. It's frustrating, it's aggravating, and it's really confusing. What's not confusing is her best performance, though, in one of my favorite movies of all time, the tragic Rachel Getting Married.
Rachel Getting Married is a 2008 family drama directed by Jonathan Demme, director of such greats as Philadelphia and The Silence of the Lambs, and written by Jenny Lumet, daughter of the late great Sidney Lumet. In it, Hathaway plays Kim, sister to the titular Rachel, played by Rosemary DeWitt. Rachel is getting married, and Kim is leaving the drug rehab center she was committed in so she can attend. The movie mostly explores the relationship between the two sisters and focuses on Kim's rather despicable attempts to make the whole thing all about herself. Here, Hathaway plays way more against type than in Les Mis, because here she actually plays a character that in most respects is pretty unsympathetic. This is quite a break from the typecast. Kim is selfish, insensitive, very short-sighted, and very self-centered. Quite different from Hathaway's usual kind-hearted stock in, say, The Princess Diaries, The Devil Wears Prada, and Ella Enchanted. What's more surprising is just how good a job Hathaway does with this role. The key to it lies in subtlety. Kim's character is pretty despicable, what with trying to usurp her sister's thunder during her wedding and all. So it would be pretty easy for her to be unsympathetic and lose all audience interest for her struggles. However, every time Kim does something god-awfully selfish, Hathaway manages to get across that Kim not only knows she's being selfish, but that somehow she can't stop. You get an odd sense of desperation and a lack of control from her. Like, you don't know how she'll react to anything. Like she's very unstable underneath her attempts to seem detached and cool. And there's a lot of subtlety in getting those things across that make her very sympathetic, even in her worst moments.
Kenny took Ethan for granted. Okay, you were high for his life. You were not present. Okay, you were high.
Yes.
And you drove him off a bridge. And now he's dead.
Rachel, it was an accident.
Yes, I was. Yes, I was stoned out of my mind. Who do I have to be now? I mean, I could be Mother Teresa. It wouldn't make a difference what I did. Did I sacrifice every bit of love in this life because I killed our little brother?
Oh, it was an accident. It was an accident.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Kimmy,
I'm sorry.
Kimmy, it was an accident.
Sorry.
So for this performance, I am giving Anne Hathaway a perfect score, a 10 out of 10. This is her absolute best role, the one where she departs the most from her typecast, and the one where I think, in time, she'll be most remembered. Or at least I hope so, because nobody saw this movie. Seriously, it's a really good movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, but nobody saw it! If you take anything from this video, people, is that you have to see this movie. It's very good. Go watch it now.
Shut up!
So there you have it. That's Anne Hathaway's first role, latest role, worst role, and best role. So, what do I think about her as an actress? Well, she is very, very talented. And while she has a certain typecast and a certain type of role where she is more comfortable, whenever she departs from that typecast, she can do a very excellent job. Granted, she does have her fair share of bad movies, and she can turn in a pretty crappy performance every now and then. See Bride Wars. Actually, don't see Bride Wars. Don't watch that movie. It's awful. But she has progressed very thoroughly from her start as an actress. Her first movie, she turned out a rather mediocre performance, and in her latest movie, she's turned out one of her best. Of course, in between, she also turned in her best performance as well as her worst performance. The best coming before the worst, which is odd, and I mean that literally. After Rachel getting married came Bride Wars, which is a pretty big step down. Because in general, Hathaway can hold her own very well, and she is a very talented actress. So even if she does stick to rom-coms from now on, she will have a legacy as a very good actress. So Anne Hathaway, if you're watching this, which you're not, don't go back to your day job and keep on acting. I'm the Bastard Argie, signing off.